No team hotter in the United Soccer League right now than Phoenix Rising, and no locale hotter either. 100 degrees every day this week. RGV calls this jacket weather. Welcome to the USL Game of the Week. It's Phoenix Rising on a 3-game win streak, closing out their 3-game homestand, taking on an RGV FC side that without a win can see their playoff hopes come to a very abrupt end sooner than later. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside, and Devin, you think about this Phoenix side, and they went from doldrums, struggles, to the very top of form in this league.
Some of the best in the Western Conference and the USL overall, and they can get level with Real Monarchs atop the Western Conference tonight. Forget about the tiebreakers. We can deal with that later on. They've been able to get it done because of hard work on both sides of the ball. We all know what they're capable of offensively, 10 goals in the last 3 games, but how about the number just behind it? 3 shutouts consecutively using different formations in the back personnel-wise. They've done a good job from a chemistry standpoint. Plug and play with their players, every buying into the same system.
A ton of new players coming in and having really great impacts. On the other side, RGV, their playoff hopes fading right now, and even with an early goal against San Antonio last time out, not enough.
You're looking at a squad that could not only be relevant in the playoff race, but could be challenging atop the Western Conference if they could put together a full 90 minutes. That's not the case. We saw it just last week for San Antonio FC. Come out early, a goal by Enriquez, and then they fall short in the second half, giving up unnecessary mistakes and goals. And they're going to have to deal with that tonight because of the likes of Kevon Frater up top. The big guy, number 51, sits in the number 9 role. Lacking confidence early on in the season, enter Didier Drogba, a great mentor who has pushed this young man in a positive direction. Only 3 goals on the season, but he's gotten hot as of late. 2 in the last 3. He's streaking. They need to find him often.
He's impressed with a team that's not had Didier Drogba since the early stages of the season, may not have him for a while longer. For RGV on the other side, do you think Jesus Enriquez might be their best player?
And I love what they've done, pushing him into the middle of the park. He sits just behind the 10 spot. They allow him to roam a bit. This is an excellent team goal, but just look at his patience, his ability to understand the threat from the defense one way, pushes it the other, challenges the goalkeeper, and finds the back of the net. That's what he can give you. Very dangerous on dead ball situations, but again, he can't be a one-man show. He needs personnel support all around him, full match long.
Well, Phoenix Rising, the team owned by Pete Wentz and Diplo. It's always a bumping atmosphere at Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex. They're 3 points away from first place with a big crowd to cheer them on against an RGV side that's always been a thorn in their side. RGV and Phoenix, Game of the Week is next. Picking up a select ball, and it's off to midfield for these referees and these players. It is 99 degrees at kickoff in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix Rising can move into first place, a tie with Real Monarchs with a win. RGV just trying to hold pace work their way toward the 8th spot. Here's the lineup for Phoenix Rising, Devin. Again, no Didier Drogba in this lineup. They're without Luigi Mala, Jason Johnson. Kevon Lambert's been called up to Jamaica, and yet they could still put this lineup out.
Loads of changes, and formationally, you're going to see Waldrop and Musa sit behind Devin Vega in the 10 role as they allow Billy Forbes and Solomon Asante back from injury to get down into those channels. Reference Saad Abdul Salam, number 5 on the right side, on loan from NYCFC. He's been a great addition to the back line to help solidify things in those 3 shutout wins. The opposition coming into Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex is going to employ a similar tactic. Pereira's going to sit deep. Wharton and Enriquez will sit just above him to allow this attack to explode forward. They have to, I repeat, have to control the middle of the field. When Phoenix gets the ball and starts to go the other direction, they start from the middle and explode down into the channels. RGV goes much more direct, but it has to start from the middle, from the likes of Chewy, Pereira, and Wharton.
Well, it's a strong front 6 for RGV. They're hoping they can put it all together here. An offense that has struggled much of this season. Exciting atmosphere, as is typical in Phoenix. Devin Vega spots the ball, scored his first career goal with Phoenix a couple of weeks ago. Had scored a trio for San Antonio last year. He did it against his former club. A win, and Phoenix, tiebreakers aside, tied for first in the USL's Western Conference. They would look for their 4th straight win and working on a 3-game shutout streak. Phoenix and RGV in the USL Game of the Week underway. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside, this is a Phoenix side that finished 0-0 against RGV the last time these two teams met. And I think both coaches have a different version of events from that affair. How that plays out today is going to be interesting.
Rick Schantz actually quite surprised that RGV sat as deep as they did. They had not prepared for that in their midweek training session, saying they felt like the high pressure was going to be there. And though Jerson Echeverry and his boys did get involved, it was not the high press that we've come to know from RGV Toros over the course of this 2018 campaign. And asking Echeverry if that was going to happen this time around, he was quite coy in his answers.
Musa driving this across. Asante brings it down, lays it back for Vega, and intercepted by Todd Wharton and pushed ahead by Enriquez. Phoenix in the red with black shorts. It's blue and white for RGV. Solomon Asante, a clear MVP candidate, trying to lay that through. And Kyle Adams, the native of New Zealand, plays it out of harm's way. Kyle Adams is going to have his hands full tonight. You could say that for just about anybody on this RGV back line, one that welcomes Kai Green back into the equation, so a little more experience there, but this is a group that doesn't concede that often because they play so well collectively. Phoenix, they can beat you collectively or they can beat you with individuals.
Starting with Kyle Adams in that reference, chatting with Jerson Echeverry, he told us that the question mark was going to be at the center back position and exactly who was going to step in. It's been touch and go exactly who's getting the nod in the starting 11 recently. They started Kyle Adams at outside back earlier on the season. They moved him to the interior, and he's definitely much more suited in the central back role, but the pace that this Phoenix Rising squad carries and their ability to counterattack at the drop of a dime is unparalleled in the USL, especially when they're in form. You get balls played into the likes of Billy Forbes, Solomon Asante, Kevon Frater, and those are just the guys that are up top tonight. Not even referencing the likes of Chris Cortez or Didier Drogba.
Forbes, an early ball sprayed off of Green, and this is out for a Rising corner. Jerson Echeverry, year number 1. First it was Wilmer Cabrera. Last year, Junior Gonzalez. Cabrera now the head coach for Houston. Junior Gonzalez on the staff at LA Galaxy. So it's Jerson's team. Came over from Seton Hall, played with Wilmer Cabrera in South America. Solomon Asante driving this to the near post. Off of Vega, Dia, Asante. That's a long winding run from Dia by Pereira, but Enriquez clears. Not enough on this. Waldrop can't catch up to it. And back to Carl Wazinski. He makes his 20th start of the season. Zach Lubin is in the 18 and available. He picked up a really, to be frank, pretty gross knock last time out.
though the scoreline probably tells a different story, 4-0. Phoenix actually knotted up at zeros with Colorado Springs in their matchup until 68th minute. And things just started to get away from Steve Tricho. Jordan Burt got in one-on-one.
This blasted from distance, nothing there.
He went to ground, got involved in a challenge with Zach Lubin. It was controversial as to exactly who was at fault in the situation. The referee does garnish the red card, sends him off, and the rest is history, so to say. 3 goals in the remaining 20 minutes, and they're able to cement their win to help push themselves into that win streak that we've already referenced. Interesting chatting with Shantz, asking about the well-being of Lubin, and he just said, look, guy didn't want to come off the pitch, wanted to come back on. When we subbed him off, he didn't want to come out of training. We brought him out of training. All he wanted to do is get back in the starting 11. So gives you an idea of the competitor. But he said, look, as terrible as it was, he's come out somewhat unscathed. He's going to have a rough scar, but it's not the worst thing that when your starting goalkeeper goes down, you've got the problem of turning around the corner going, I got Carl Wazinski sitting in the wings.
Right.
So he's been able to have the ebb and flow between those two all season long. He says it's something that he relishes every single time they step into the training ground, wants those two guys to battle it out.
Needed a lot of stitches to his cheek, not Gus Fring a lot, or the Joker a lot, but a lot nonetheless. 5 minutes gone in the USL game of the week between RGV, we're on the ball now, and Phoenix Rising. Back line that's seen just a remarkable number of changes for Phoenix of late. Musa. Blackman and DeFont making up the center pairing. Saad Abdul Salam on the ball there, knocking it ahead to Asante. Forbes front running. Forbes upended a bit by Wharton. And this will get out for a corner. Didier Drogba in the hat is the coach behind the coach, but Rick Shantz is the man for this Phoenix Rising side. Interim coach again. He took over last year for Frank Yallop. They brought in Patrice Carteron. Carteron has since moved on to one of Africa's biggest clubs, El Ali, in Egypt. And Shantz is the man again. Corner for Forbes. Gets by Frater, header down by Blackman. And Phoenix will reload. Dia short-armed it. Can Enriquez start the counter the other way? He got held up, and the whistle against Waldrop in Phoenix. As Waldrop gets another chance for Phoenix, this time in the starting 11 in a bit of a holding role.
Interestingly enough, Billy Forbes doing double duty as they send him out to the corner to knock service in. Solomon Asante primarily used in that region, but that's something to keep an eye on. Rick Shantz telling us that they've really worked on interchanging play. He's picked up some pointers here and there, and he'd really like to see his outside guys, Billy Forbes, Solomon Asante, consistently overlapping over the course of the field and really making the defenders challenging things. We've seen them so linear at times where Billy Forbes and Solomon will stay on their respective sides, but when you're constantly moving off of each other, moving into the middle of the pitch, challenging the interior of the park, and then you get overlapping runs down into the channels. It's so difficult as a defender to keep an eye exactly where you're at.
Donovan for Kyle Adams. Perea, we were told, covers enough meters for 2 men. Perea long diagonal, trying to play the Panamanian Small. Carlos Small against Amadou Dia. Sticks his foot out, knocks it away for a moment. Enriquez helping to run by. Enriquez taking the shot. It'll bounce in to Wazinski. DeFont making his 25th start of the year on loan from Colorado Springs in Colorado Rapids. My abbreviation nomenclature just came into question here.
It's that shorthand on those boards of yours.
Frater is trying to embrace his inner Jason Johnson. Flag was up.
Unfortunately, Frater's looking over to the sideline at the third assistant saying, "Are you kidding me?" Didn't believe that he had tracked back too far, but apparently.
You sure he's not looking at the people in the Pruitt seats in leather chairs in 100-degree weather? I'm not one to knock sponsorship, but whew, it is an oven in Phoenix right now. Dangerous from Dia. Off of Asante, who's moved to this left-hand side. A lot of versatility in this Phoenix front line.
A whole lot of talent as well and depth, but Solomon, again, really the outside play from their wings, it's not something they've employed in the past. They've really stuck to their side. Every now and then you would see someone drift across, but primarily Solomon would stay on the right, Billy would be on the left. If Jason Johnson was in, he would sit out there on the left-hand side as well. But again, Sean's really trying to find a way to make this team even more dynamic than they already are coming down the stretch.
Wharton plays this back. You know, Devin, we spoke with Jerson Echeverry about the game plan coming into this game. He knew that his team couldn't afford to give the ball away, but they needed the number of games and the climate that they're playing in. Pick and choose the right times. Small gets sideswiped, but recovers. Blackman on his backside. Small playing it across, and Wazinski has it. They've applied pressure in a couple of spots, RGV against Phoenix.
So far, it's similar to what went on in their previous matchup, which was that 0-0 victory at HEB Park just a few weeks ago. RGV would sit, let Phoenix have the better run of play. Wow, that's a late challenge by Kai Green.
Well, there will be a decision to have here. Took a knock, too. Injured player down is Amadou Dia. Asante is arguing, really more imploring.
That's reckless. That's downright uncalled for. And the referee needs to set the tone for this game early, exactly how he's going to call this match. Kai Green's done some damage to himself as well, but that's the appropriate decision, garnishing the yellow card.
Yeah, that's his 5th of the year. He'll be suspended for the next game. He was on accumulation warning.
And going back to the pressure just before this tackle, Solomon Asante playing a good ball into Dia. Dia should have been a touch wider to allow him to have that ball played in front of him, but still in a good position, getting in that high line that we've seen him so many times. And that match back on June 23rd, RGV sat back, they pick and chose their opportunities, and to be fair, they probably should have gotten a better result than the 0-0. Had a load of opportunities, but much like the reverberating theme that has been the plot for RGV all season long, much too little too late, can't close out games. That's why they're sitting where they're at in the Western Conference standings. A season that is a what-ifs. If you're Sean, you're just hoping that he is going to be able to continue on, because he has had to deal with a massive amount of injuries. Big key players going down consistently over the past 4 or 5 weeks.
Diaz back up to his feet. A dual citizen of France and the United States. Went from Sporting Kansas City to Montreal, where he played alongside one Didier Drogba. Guy who played at Clemson, which is a team that's fed quite a number of players to RGV over these past couple of years. Oh, will Tyler Derrick get called into service here? Solomon Asante. Derrick will grab this. There was nothing too promising there for Phoenix. Promptly volleys it the other way back to Wazinski. Flighted diagonal. Forbes. Forbes trying to sneak by Green. Delicate back heel. Falls for Musa. Looking for Vega. And pinged away. Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, visit SelectSportAmerica.com and receive free shipping on orders over $50. Crossfield from Luis Gil. Haven't heard his name in a while. Played 11 times for the Dynamo. This is second appearance with RGV this year. Went 34 minutes in a substitute appearance earlier in the season.
Track yourself back. Late 2000s. Someone who in the growth of American soccer was referenced as kind of the next coming, if you will. You had the Freddie Adu naysayers, and then in-step Gil, who just continued his meteoric rise, but unfortunately at the national level never really took things off for his country, only really getting a boatload of looks at club level. Had a nice career with Real Salt Lake. Just now trying to find his way back into things. I mean, it's crazy to think at 24 years of age you put in over 134 reps and still trying to find your way back into your career.
Gil, generation Adidas guy, 6 years in MLS, mostly with RSL. You're right, all the articles were he's the next big thing. As Perea, bit of a push there, foul against RGV, and it's with Phoenix, 16th minute, as Musa helped back to his feet. DeFont. Settled and tossed back in. The rising Waldrip going back. See Amadou Dia at the bottom of your screen. He has returned for Phoenix after that vicious challenge from Kai Green. Nice little dummy onward. Ball knocked across. Forbes on it again. Has Frater behind him. Forbes continuing, knocking it toward the back post. Kept alive and lofted out of play.
What really got things going here was that long ball stretching the field by Mike DeFont. And as it just kind of made its way back in, how clever is that from Frater right up top, allowing Billy Forbes to get into the byline. Can't get it in the first time, but the second ball to the back post, teasing as well. Saad makes a mess of it when it comes back across, but good looks from Phoenix.
And you saw it, but I didn't. That wasn't a dummy, that was a delicate touch.
It's one of those things that doesn't necessarily come up on your metric sheet. You can see it in your scouting report though, and Frater likes the ball out in front of him, really wants to go with those pacey legs of his and challenge people in one-on-one situations. But don't sleep on his distribution skills. Does a good job playing with his back to goal as well, especially since he's gotten to play alongside the likes of Chris Cortez and Didier Drogba.
Sante off the head of Perea. And now Jordan Jones helping to lead the charge. Gil, Jones, taken by Blackman, who's on loan from LAFC. Musa, Vega. Bodied up, here's Billy Forbes. Asante, Dual Salam, arriving. Asante within his range, hurling in across. to Enriquez leading the charge. Small looking for Gill. Green. Wharton. Kai Green is playing on a yellow card. Won't get many more looks the rest of the way. Frater back to his feet. He did come in from behind a bit recklessly himself, perhaps.
That's one as a defender, just doesn't see it over his shoulder. But Green needs to step into that ball anyway. Can't be caught flat-footed. Allow Frater to come back in and challenge him. Green just 20 minutes in, already sitting in the no-no spot in the referee's book. Already been put in the yellow card in the 12th minute, and now another rough foul. It's never good as a defender.
Excellent, clever stuff. Waldrop, Waldrop! Deflects on the way out, corner on the way. Devin, I think before the game you may have called an Evan Waldrop goal, I don't know.
Well, the middle of the park has been suspect for Phoenix Rising so far, but this is good stuff, good build-up. Evan Waldrop just drifts out to the right as Asante brings two defenders with him. They're gonna give him space, he's gonna take it. Lines it up well, catches it clean, just ends up over the end line. Again, Billy Forbes sitting on the dead ball situation.
Forbes. Derek is coming, couple players collided. Derek will watch this out, it's a goal kick.
Take a look at the back line of Phoenix Rising as well. We referenced in the open that there's been so many changes in the back line. For a while they went into a three-back system, then they went back into the four-back, but guys constantly rotating in and out, and because of that, they were suspect in their performances. They had a real rough time at Chuck Chansey dealing with Fresno FC. Zion Spake was an abysmal performance for them, but they recovered well. And over the past 3 games, even though they've used different personnel, not a boatload of changes, but one guy here and there, they've been able to get into this consistent format. And that's even more so too tonight because you've got Loney, Tristan Blackman, who plays on the left side of defense, who's playing in that center back role, alongside Mike DeFont, who all season long, when he's been in there, he's alongside Luigi Mala or Joe Farrell, but he's on the left side. He's never played on the right before. So Rick Schantz not lacking any sort of confidence in him whatsoever, having no problem not only getting him into the starting lineup, but moving over to the right side along the likes of Saad.
Throw coming for Phoenix. Dia, nice move. Cross field. And not a lot of options here. Sheldon Sullivan will play it out over the byline, and a corner for Phoenix. Forbes. Gill. Good small hold-up play here for a moment. Gives it right back to Amadou Dia. Dia sending it long. Derek is coming out, and Derek gets blasted from the side. Kevon Frater wouldn't let that go.
Fantastic defending by Connor Donovan. As the ball gets turned over, tracks back into the middle and able to get just enough on his head, push it to the side, allow his goalkeeper to come back in.
Enriquez spent time with Tijuana. Boy, stifling right now from Phoenix. RGV looked like they had a solution. Sheldon Sullivan to take over out of the University of Virginia. Third-round pick. The Dynamo at that outside back spot.
He's got a load of talent and a massive amount of speed. They really like to get him in combination play on that left-hand side. Get the ball out in front of him. See if he can whip that in and find Carlos Small. Everything very direct. Opening 25 minutes for RGV. Poor touch by Kai Green.
And Phoenix goes back to work. They allowed 9 goals in 3 games. They've come back 10-0 goal differential the last 3. Frater, 2 goals in those 3 games. This will deflect back. And Derek has all the time in the world because I don't think Kevon Frater entirely understood what had happened there. I think you could also argue if that was deliberately playing it back or just a deflection back to the goalkeeper, but
smart by Derek. He wasn't sure there was the gray area involved, and he wasn't willing to take the risk. Just brought it down on his feet. He was ready to play it right away, but realized Kai Green was having a few choice words with his boys in the middle. Not happy when he played the ball across that support hadn't stepped up into the middle. Really thought he should have gone one-on-one in that situation. That's decision-making, though, as a forward when maybe you're not in your prime, not getting the regular reps that Frater expected.
Brought down here. Frater. Frater, a shot, rings wide. And Frater, a guy that former coaches said he sort of fades in and fades out of games. He's inconsistent. When he's at his best, he can be an elite striker within this league.
That's why you saw him last year at Colorado Springs do what he was able to do. 12 goals, 29 appearances. Excellent job, but you know, a moment ago, maybe questionable his decision. Should he have tried to challenge the defender this time around? Encapsulated by the back line of RGV. Why not lay it off? Give yourself an opportunity for your squad to help you out.
Excellent. Perea dummied through. And Waldrip will take over. Go a step further. Really, it didn't work out in Salt Lake City for Kevon Frater because they don't counter. That's not the style that they play. And look, Phoenix and Jerson Echeverry from RGV said this. Turn the ball over against the Rising. 7 guys are flying at you at once. But that's not necessarily how they come into a game planning to attack. Excellent diagonal ball. Forbes showing off that speed against Sullivan. And it is a corner for Phoenix. Forbes was the toast of the town in San Antonio the first maybe 3 months last year. But then only 1 goal between April the 29th and September the 17th. Forbes off the head of Perea. Yusa keeping this alive. This is hit on the volley with venom. Up and over, a dipping effort. Hits off the post behind the goal. The USL's official Twitter feed is keeping you up to date. News, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow at USL on Twitter. Some good highlights from Lucas Oil in Indianapolis. How about Indy 11? Massive win against New York.
Ron Wolenak couldn't figure out what was in the water out there.
Yeah.
Lucas Oil, such a difficult place to go and play, and getting a 3-0 victory.
A little unlucky. This bounces off of Wharton, and Phoenix pushing ahead. Frater's moved out wide. Frater slows his roll. Asante. Vega. Flag is up for offside. Maybe it's just compared to the size of Devin Vega that Saad Abdul Salam looks so big and imposing.
He's trumped.
But I mean, there is just a couple of guys. Kai Green has gone down there, left-hand side of the field. He is big physical monster on that right-hand side.
From a metric standpoint, he's almost a full foot taller than him.
Abdul Salam. I mean, those aren't even metrics. I mean, that's just, yeah. Well, Kai Green is down here. He came out of Seton Hall, a native of South Orange, New Jersey. Played as a forward to start his senior year, moved to midfield, going from midfield to outside back with RGV. And he's been around this organization for a while, Devin. And at 25, I think the context is very apparent for a guy like Kai Green with a affiliated franchise like RGV. When you get to 26, sometimes tough decisions get made, and you do wonder what things will look like for Kai Green moving forward.
Definitely a make or break season for Kai Green, and hasn't really lived up to the hype. Unfortunately, not the best form we've seen him in the past. He's also had to have challenges from Sheldon Sullivan and Manny Padilla, two guys who came in, and he's been laboring ever since that early tackle where he came in, received the yellow card, 12th minute. Amadou Dia, the overlapping run. And you just kind of see him here, steps in, doesn't really see much from it, catches him off kilter, and just enough to push his body over the edge. And unfortunately, it looks like that's going to be the end of Kai Green's night.
And he's been handed a penny, and Manny Padilla is ready to come on. He'll be making his 5th appearance off the bench, 16th appearance of the year out of USF San Francisco, not South Florida. Manny Padilla is just a phenomenal story out of the Galaxy Academy, and there's a quote from him, and you're supposed to be a statistic out of Compton, a failure. It's made him hungrier, and you look at how he's fit in, a 4th-round pick by the Dynamo, and they're very high on what he can bring to the equation.
Statistically, you don't end up as a professional soccer player.
No.
That goes in the exact opposite direction. What he's been able to do from his environment and all the variables surrounding him, like you said, it's just been able to push him to great heights every situation he's been put in.
Now there's a handball here, and it's with Phoenix, 31+ in. As Waldrop knocks it across, a win for Phoenix. And they draw level with Real Monarchs. They've been chasing for a long time. And it'll put them 13 points up over the number 8 position in the Western Conference playoffs with 7 games to go. As if there were questions about Phoenix making the playoffs, that would all but extinguish those questions.
Phoenix Rising can thank Darren Powell and San Antonio FC for that opportunity after their Labor Day win at Zion's Bank, taking down Real Monarchs. They're going to take on San Antonio this weekend, but in order to get themselves into that situation to challenge for supremacy atop the West, it's got to be better here tonight.
You know, I think that's the question for Phoenix. I don't know that they're chasing any individual accolade this year. I don't think they're chasing a regular season trophy. I genuinely think all they want is the USL Cup. I really, you get the feeling when you talk to them, I don't know that they're chasing the number 1 position in the conference. I think everyone would like that, but it doesn't feel like that's their primary motivator.
When you take a look at the composition of their squad, they can compete with the best of them.
Yeah.
If you get the Phoenix Rising that you expect to get. If you get this dominating team that comes out, imposes their will, excellent ball movement, quick 1-2 touch, down into the channels, good ball and across, set piece is great. I mean, it sounds like a huge package deal, but that's what they can give you. They can give you some phenomenal football, but they've also give you some extremely questionable results. We referenced earlier what they did at Chuck Chansey in their 4-0 loss. They also did it at Zion's Bank. And even if you track back to the game versus Orange County here, they were flat. They were down 4-0, looking like a team that had no clue what was going on in a match. Solomon Asante changed that, gets 3 goals, able to claw back in within 1, but at no point in time in the opening 75 minutes of that game did they look like they even cared that they wanted to step onto the pitch. That's been an issue for Johnson. He's brought that up. So much so that you reset after that Orange County game. He said every single position is unsafe on this field right now. And that's why you've seen other guys get opportunities.
That's why you've seen them win their last 3 by a 10-0 margin against Las Vegas and San Antonio and Colorado Springs. And I think just with this level of talent, sometimes it's easy to become disengaged. I think a lot of great teams go through that. And you look at the changes they're making to their lineup, and it feels like they're looking to figure out their best 11 before the playoffs rather than try and grind an 11 that's working right now into one more win this week. Padilla lays off Perea off of Forbes, and it will bounce out for a corner. Because if Billy Forbes comes into his best form, if Didier Drogba comes back, and you go right down the list, this team is still incomplete. It can still be better, and I think that's the focal point. Not let's be the #1 seed, it's let's be the best we can be on October 15th so that the following week we can get going.
What's fun in situations like that is if you do get Phoenix Rising at their best and Real Monarchs at their best, now it's a personnel standpoint, it's tactical. Yeah. What are you going to do from a game plan standpoint to really challenge the other side of the field?
Enriquez, Wharton driving with too much on that, missed on Jones. Watch highlights from every game of the 2018 season and stay up to date with news from across the USL at the league's official Facebook page, facebook.com/USL Soccer. And all that said, RGV should have more points than they do. And I know there's the coulda, woulda, shoulda of looking at standings at the end of the year when a team is sitting in 15th. But if they could have just protected a couple of results, swung 4-6 points the other way earlier in the year, could have been looking at this game with a lot more intention.
Going into last week's game versus San Antonio, they had 9 matches that at the 75th minute they were either leading or tied at, and they couldn't close out.
Service for Frater caught by Derek.
If you take a look at the Western Conference standings, they're currently sitting on 24 points in 15. Now, let's have a little fun. Let's say they close out those 9 matches. That's 27 points. Carry the 1, 51. See what I just did there? Pretty impressive. Now they're in second. Now, if they only close out half, let's just say they get results in 5 of those games. That's 15 points. 15 points, 39. You're right back in the playoff picture.
Fun with numbers, huh?
I really got to give myself some credit. Just don't ask for the long arithmetic, you know. Long division, I'm in trouble.
It's a throw for Phoenix, as it looked like that had hopped up on Adams. Not the case. '38th minute. Longer this stays scoreless. It certainly goes for RGV. Frater. Whistle had already blown. He was offside.
He's frustrated. You can see the emotion, and it's affecting his play. This is close. Look at Manny Padilla at the bottom of your screen, tracking back with Billy Forbes as Frater tries to tuck him behind. He's got to step on Donovan as well, but that ball's got to be out in front of him too. Allow him to run on and just turn and hit it, as opposed to taking a touch and adjust. That's a foul throw. Tristan Echeverry, Wilmer Cabrera are going to have to talk to Jurgen Klopp and borrow the throw-in coach that they've hired.
Stop, really?
Liverpool have hired a throw-in coach.
They get to teach the flip throw? What's going on?
Apparently he came over, I believe it's from Stoke City.
Well, because Stoke City has the best throws in all the Premier League.
They've been vying for that title for the past month.
Asante laid that on the ground. Forbes trying to step in. Dia, Forbes. Is this the moment for Phoenix? Breaks down. Wharton was in the thick of it. Injured players, Luis Gill.
This takes place right at the top of the box as he steps back here and just, that's not good. Non-contact injury right away, goes to his ankle. Very quiet for Gill. Been roaming around the field trying to find a touch. Not even sure if Jordan Jones has even gotten his foot on the ball yet.
I think he's gotten his chest on the ball on long service, but that's about it.
That's the thing for RGV. You want to go direct. Make sure you're precise with it. That has not been the case. Everything has been down in, just hoping one of their guys can get on the end of it. You are not going to be successful against Phoenix Rising in that manner.
Nearing halftime in the USL Game of the Week. Tell you about the upcoming ESPN schedule for the USL Game of the Week. Get you ready with some news and notes from around the league. One of our favorite coaches is back into the circuit, my friend. Jimmy Nielsen. He is a folk hero among some of our production staff for just how clear he was with all his calls when he was at OKC.
Cult Lake would be kind. He's got a shrine down there somewhere. He's very popular amongst the fans and his players.
Well, Hartford, real humdinger of a signing.
Big names in United States soccer floating around past few weeks. Jimmy Nielsen, John Harkes getting involved.
Yep. Greenville, Triumph.
John Hackworth going to Louisville.
Forbes giving chase, and Derek handled that with ease. Advantage played. Waldrop. Asante from Abdul Salam. Asante, Waldrop. It's a little far away from home. Slipping through was Vega. Musa powering forward. Like Forbes took that square to the face. I mean, he's frustrated. I get that. But the other hand, you know.
Phoenix has been brisk in some of their actions going forward, but not as crisp. Really, Forbes can't believe it.
I didn't realize he put his hands down for the ball at his feet. Forbes deflects back. Frater, a touch. Asante. Solomon Asante with a drive. Carlos Small played into space. 5 red shirts. Jones pushing ahead. Small parried aside. Wazinski from a long way out. Laid under the foot of Gill, who's able to continue on after picking up a bit of a knock previous. Dia. Paran pursuit. Dia swings it across. Aimed for Frater. We talk about how good San Abdul Salam's been, but James Musa, what he's brought to the equation coming in, he has been enormous for Phoenix.
He's frustrated with the back line as well, trading some blows verbally there, letting him know exactly where that needed to be and who should have stepped up. But a guy who can offensively slide in to an attacking role. He can sit deep in the 6th spot. And then they've even used him in the center back position, rotating into that back 3. Things get dicey defensively. He has no problem dropping back into the middle, helping out the 2 other center backs. Just communication-wise, does such a good job keeping the structure of this organization, both going forward and coming back. Always pointing in one way or another and trying to figure out the plan that has been set forth for him.
5 minutes at a time. Dia and Forbes interchange. Right back to Dia on the bounce. And he'll shield this out. Well, your Phoenix, these corners have not amounted to very much yet.
Most of the service we've seen, not just from dead ball situations, but Solomon's been serving those in-swingers. Billy Forbes doing it on the other side with his left foot.
Asante headed toward Vega. Knotted down, almost forgot something. Maybe promising here for RGV. Enriquez, small lines it up. Blistering stuff. Wazinski plays it straight up and over.
An excellent look at what RGV can give you when they really start to tick. They can counter with the best of them. Chuy Enriquez starting things off on the left, inside to Small, who just tees it up. Was punches it over the bar. Very smart by the veteran.
A corner for RGV. Wharton had her back across. Cleared out of the 6. Flag could have gone up. Instead, it's allowed through, and it's a good move to create space. Enriquez goes down. Freeman not blowing his whistle. Play still alive. Wharton is coming. Asante carries away. And this is Phoenix at their best. And Asante at his best. Ringleader. And misses for Forbes as a giant crowd in Arizona gasp all at the same time. Padilla for Small. Devin, do you look at these times in 100-degree temperatures, 5 minutes of stoppage? It's the time to put the accelerator down. Padilla. Wazinski went back into his net. This game got a little added shot of life right before these guys get to go into some air conditioning.
Find some sort of momentum, whether you're Phoenix or RGV, to carry you into the second half. There's a good shout from Didier Drogba just a second ago, not happy with his talisman up top. Kevon Frater telling him to work back and help out defensively.
Forbes dispossessed by Wharton. Running horizontally, a little back heel aimed at Small from Enriquez. floated into the RGV half, a group that's only allowed 32 goals this year. But a team that looks up right now got a result in more than half their games. The problem is death by 1,000 draws. 12 one-point outings for RGV in their 26 games to this stage. Has them far on the outside looking in. Playoff race intensifying. Small, one touch too heavy. Perea has come to the ball. Gill for Perea, out to Asante. Another half minute to go here in the first half. Clever stuff from Asante. Forbes has played through with his explosive speed. Forbes on the cutback. John Freeman did not blow his whistle. And as Phoenix pulled out of place, ball for Gill. The slide from Vega comes up empty. Perea, time running out this first half. Enriquez steered wide. Enriquez got the service in, looking for Small. And we're at halftime. Well, those last 5 minutes had all kinds of dramatics. And it's off to the comfort of the locker room in halftime, Devin.
2 no calls by John Freeman coming down the stretch of this first half. One in the end for RGV, and then just a second ago, Billy Forbes. We'll get another look for you at halftime. We can talk about everything that went on, but both of these squads finding some sort of fitness towards the end of the first half to push them into the final 45.
Phoenix and RGV level terms. After 45 minutes, some really tough challenges, tough decisions. Didier Drogba gesturing wildly, as he's so often known to do. Phoenix and RGV level at halftime. Highlights, stats, and more coming up in the USL Game of the Week.
Visit our Just Sports team shops this evening where you'll find the latest and official Phoenix Rising merchandise. Our team shops are located near the main gate and on the east side of the stadium. You can also get all your Rising gear at any Just Sports location or at shoprisingfc.com. Is the perfect place to celebrate before and after the match. If you've never been, just think of a high-tech playground with top-notch food and drinks and awesome entertainment. Best of all, it's fun for all ages, even non-golfers. So head to Top Golf at Gilbert and Scottsdale after the match. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your halftime MCs, Kenny and Crash, the Freaks.
You know, they give us a shot to stand out here and watch some of these future stars knock this ball around.
Oh, I saw a handball.
You know, there's a couple of them that might have a future.
Goal from St. Louis.
And a diving stop by Gomez.
And a goal. What a finish. Saved by Weaker. Calistri, and it's in. And a goal. Chandler Hoffman. That's a goal by Michael. Big save, Connor Sparrow.
Save, Fettelson.
on every highlight reel.
You think some Phoenix fans are going to be watching that? Real Monarchs right now would still lead by tiebreaker, Devin, if Phoenix finds 3 points here going into that game of the week next week.
That's one of my favorite things. You go from points to total wins in league. Well, that wouldn't matter if Phoenix wins because they're 1 win behind, even though they played 1 game less. And that's why I said at the beginning, don't worry about the tiebreakers right now. Go out, get a result. That's the biggest thing. They have looked poor in the opening 45 minutes.
Well, a long way to go here. We'll show you highlights and stats from the first half and a look at some news and notes from around the league. But first, the very best from Week 25 in the USL.
See it here as maybe another potential chance for the Rangers. Long range shot, incredible save.
Ball knocked over the top. What a touch! Guzman!
Put a delivery. Header, tipped over the bar. What a save. It's Kuzane. Oh! Sensational! Handball. Jay Bolt saved by Ranjitsingh.
Lance Lang!
And it's saved by Crepeau.
Are you kidding me? Antoine Opano! Tina kick save by Spencer Richards. Tina, a left-footed shot. Oh, wonder goal from Jesse Daly.
Headed towards Vega. Did he hold it out? Somehow Daniel Vega holds it out.
Dennis can hit from this range. Aaron Dennis. Cross header towards the goal. It's Dejas punches it over the top to save the lead. Fernando Adi over to his left foot. Fernando Adi, his first goal in Cincinnati. Chambers, he's going to hit it. And Pizer tips it over the bar. The outswinger and volleyed in for a goal.
The defense, Lasser 1v1 versus Puadi, who makes a beautiful save.
Enriquez on his right!
Skundrich, what a save from Pizer.
Back at the Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex, and it's not Dollar Beer Night, and yet is still a great big crowd and fireworks still to come on the field with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. How about we take a look at what's been going on around the United Soccer League of Weight. We begin with the USL news and notes, and FC Cincinnati picking up a win over Pittsburgh. Not only a playoff berth, but I think that might set the tone for what it looks like in a month.
Yeah.
Does it?
You know, I said this a couple weeks ago that I feel that though they've gotten to 16 unbeaten and they've matched this season's record from Reno, I see them going down this weekend versus Louisville.
Oh.
I think that's where the streak ends, but I'll tell you what, you have to give credit to Kanon and Adi coming down the stretch. Bob Lilly, they had gone in to Nippert, had a positive result going, but just like that, FC Cincinnati turns things around.
And how about that new logo from Memphis? I saw Tim Howard over there pre-game. And the Rapids and Roughnecks drew a sellout crowd, AutoZone Park, and then, of course, points at a premium right now. 4 games pitting teams in the top 8 in their conference against each other this weekend and seeding all kinds of trouble right now to figure out. Let's take a look at the USL team of the week. And how about center forward Guenzati for the Rowdies, and the Rowdies are still on the outside looking in right now.
But they needed it. They needed a positive performance. He goes out, Guenzati gets a hat trick versus North Carolina FC. NCFC not happy with that. They're now trailing. Lance Lang coming over on loan from FC Cincinnati. 2 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. How about that?
Impressive stuff from Lang, who you mentioned, on loan from FC Cincinnati. And how about another piece of news from around the United Soccer League of late? Jimmy Nielsen is back. He's the head coach for the newly minted Hartford Athletic.
The White Puma back in action. You thought the glory days were over? Absolutely not. They're just beginning. You have to respect the run that they had. OKC coming down the stretch and then into the Western Conference playoffs last year. That's a great signing for them.
Jimmy, I cannot wait to talk to you again. I think I speak for all of us in saying we cannot wait to have you back. Highlights and stats from the first half right around the bend from Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex. It's scoreless at halftime. The USL game of the week between Phoenix and RGV. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts with you from Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex, where the temperatures have moved down to a paltry 95 degrees with the sun setting in the Arizona area. Let's take a look back at first half highlights and stats as Phoenix and RGV in the USL game of the week 0-0. And this was a game, Devin, in this first half that at times felt a little sluggish, felt like maybe the heat had played a role. But by the time we got to the final 5 minutes of stoppage time, we had really incited a bit of a riot.
Things really opened up, but even including into the extra time that was added on based upon the injury to Amadou Dia. But look, you're looking at a Phoenix Rising team, 60% possession, 7 shots, none on goal. They haven't really challenged Tyler Derrick at all, and they're all half opportunities. Billy Forbes trying to find the trailing run of Saad to the back post, cannot get on the end of it, and that's kind of what it was. You know, Frater couldn't get things going up top. He would get a couple opportunities where the ball's played into his feet, but just lacking the execution that we've seen him in the past. This was magnificent. Mike DeFont, a long ball outside, and you can see in transition how fast they can be. Evan Waldrop, Kyle Adams doesn't step up at all. Take the spot, have a shot. Good effort from Phoenix Rising, but just again, not enough to really threaten RGV. Now, they carried most of the possession, and they were able to kind of find certain areas, but the creativity that we've seen from Phoenix Rising in the past just completely lacking over the course of the opening 45 minutes.
We see Kevon Frater getting into the attack. Talk about up and down, a guy that at times was pretty frustrated.
You could see it too, not only from him, but you could hear the conversations coming off the bench as well. At one point in time, Didier Drogba standing up and just verbally abusing him, telling him to get involved in the match and get back and help out defensively. Best chance for RGB, 45th minute. Carlos Smalls out in front of him, takes it right down the middle of the frame, but Wash just punches it up over the bar. And then coming down the Final few minutes, RGV inside the box. Julian Enriquez coming over. That's close. That's close. Another referee could have easily pointed to the spot. Billy Forbes here cuts it back. No foul.
Adams gets in and ultimately picked up by Derek. Zasante and Phoenix walk off scoreless for 45 minutes, which is exactly where they were when they last played Colorado Springs. So everybody relax. There's the halftime statistics. We talked about RGV not taking advantage of opportunities and not getting shots on target. That really wasn't their issue. It was Phoenix's problem, though.
They were just lacking inspiration in the final third, and the creativity we've seen from them in the past, not present whatsoever. That's a problem. That's a problem for Rick Schantz. He needs to figure out what he's going to do in the closing 45 minutes. Do you go to your bench and make a change right away? Frater has been frustrated up top. Billy Forbes and Asante, I like the interchange, but with Asante, you can't really tell if he's healthy or not. Not involved in the run of play on a regular basis. He's been shifting into the middle of the field, but he's the type of guy that can take over an entire match. We've seen it on a regular basis. Haven't seen it at all tonight.
Devin, you think about where Phoenix is within their schedule right now. 7 more to go, and it's a team that, with a win tonight, with that extra game in hand, can look forward to being in a position on October 10th where they could win the conference championship outright in the regular season. Long way to go before then. Real Monarchs, St. Louis, their next USL game of the week, and St. Louis right on the fringe of the playoff race.
Anthony Pulis had his boys really clicking after they went to Reno and knocked them off their perch in that 16-match unbeaten streak we referenced just before. But from then it's been touch and go. Nashville trying to find it here down the road as Neil Collins and the Tampa Bay Rowdies will visit them. But for Phoenix Rising, in the close of this second half, where's the heart? Where's the passion? What's it going to be? Schantz had to question it about 5 or 6 games ago, and we said everybody was put on the chopping block. It doesn't look like anybody feels too comfortable tonight because it's been wishy-washy over the opening first half.
So Phoenix is retaking the field here. A win, tie for first. No substitutes for the Rising. The group that tonight is without Kevon Lambert and Jason Johnson, Luigi Mala, among others. But they do have Solomon Asante, an MVP candidate. Maybe a front runner would be a better way to describe him. Carlos Small, the newcomer from Panama, standing over the ball and sends us into the second half. Can RGV provide a major impediment to Phoenix's aspirations of the #1 seed in the West? Or will the Rising find an answer and pick up 3 points at home, finish off what would be the perfect home stand, one in which to this point they have yet to concede a goal. This is the 3rd of 3 straight at the Rising Soccer Complex. Foul here is Carlos Small got dragged down. The power of Ref Edge, the official vanishing spray, the United Soccer League.
Every time that stuff went down, I just put my foot out and wiped it away. I think your can's broken, sir.
So Todd Wharton behind the ball, sends it long for Donovan. We'll get a closer look at Saad Abdul Salam on this near side touchline. Vega springing into the attack. Good turn by Frater. Held up for a moment. Vega cutting central. There was advantage played. John Freeman deemed that advantage to end. And a free kick in dangerous position for Phoenix. And another opportunity to see Ref Edge in action.
Frater struggling to maintain his composure as Phoenix started to push the other direction. You could see his momentum got the best of him here, and maybe the referee doing him a bit of a favor as Manny Padilla just sticks his foot out, gets stuck in on Frater. Devin Vega taking over. Vega, someone who's got to get involved more. You kind of want the ball when you're in that position, but this is a great spot There's a good look at exactly what Tyler Derrick has to deal with, only going with a two-man wall, surprisingly.
Pick your poison. Asante sends that low, and Derrick, a late dive for that. Nobody touched it in the end. As Blackman, the low knee at center back, had the best shot at it.
You said Phoenix Rising was lacking creativity in the first half. This is quite impressive, but Blackman has to sell out in a situation like that. He's got that big, tall frame, stretching 6'2". Throw your leg out, get something involved in the six, at least give yourself an opportunity to get on the end of the ball.
Small. Carlos Small swinging that in, and Wazinski, easy work. Dia. Asante, Vega. Spacing wasn't quite right there as Enriquez comes away.
Frater just out of sorts again, and that's a communication factor, but you can see the buildup coming from Phoenix Rising.
Small pushing off the front. Small laying it off now for RGV. Jones, no, Small saved away from the line. Excellent at the end. Prevent that from being a sure goal.
This is one of those chances where RGV just pick and choosing their opportunities. Mike DeFont, flat-footed, gets caught out. Jordan Jones can't finish off the great ball across from Carlos Small. And how about the low knee? Tristan Blackman batters it off the end line to keep it knotted up at 0.
Corner for RGV. Gill gave chase. Reach all the way back to Padilla, who came on for the injured Kai Green in the first half. And from Jones, DeFont. If Jones and Small can combine effectively for RGV, it changes the entire dynamic the rest of the way.
The problem is the big if. That's the elephant in the room. Jordan Jones, so suspect in his performances over the course of the season. Bringing it up earlier, asking Jerson Echeverry, you know, why not the nod earlier? He said he just hasn't been able to get it done in practice. How can I give him a nod in the starting 11? But he is the type of guy who can not only bring pace, but precision. You do that alongside Carlos Small, you give yourself a good opportunity to get back into this match.
Small, very impressive. Enriquez, Small, and intercepted. And Asante striding forward, trying to play Abdul Salam. Forbes leaps to ground. Padilla guilty. I might be with Padilla on this.
Give him a Tony Award. Not Oscar worthy, but RGV not falling short of dramatics in their department in the second half. Jones, how do you miss that one? The deflection comes off. Small, but how about the center back, Blackman, just being patient. His positioning so perfect. That's where you want to be.
Seven minutes into the second half. Free kick for Phoenix. Swung across, and just a lot of traffic. Nowhere to go. Derek trying to get his rhythm back. It was part of that, call it biggest shock win of the Western Conference this year, perhaps. Away to Orange County. 7-save shutout for RGV. Asante. The overlap came. A little cutback and a whistle. This just outside the penalty area. And it's Padilla in the spotlight again. This time bringing down Musa.
Freeman telling me, wait on the whistle. So everybody can set up appropriately. Stuff by Musa coming in behind. Again, Padilla. He's got to be careful here. That's the third time here in the second half. The referee's blowing the whistle on him.
On the other hand, I think he knew precisely where he was on the field, to his credit. Asante, dozen goals, half a dozen assists. Asante did not size that up the right way. Just feels like everyone's brought a 2-iron when they could really just use a pitching wedge.
It's been poor. I mean, this is definitely not the best stuff we've seen from Phoenix Rising in the past. And the problem is all the praise we gave them coming in about how they've been so consistent on both sides of the ball, that hasn't been the case whatsoever. Some excellent individual defensive plays, but I see DeFont's been wandering. Again, not really used to being on the right side of the defense, but you do have Saad Abdul Salam next to you to kind of help you in that direction. Amadou Dia was involved early on in the first half in the run of play offensively, but it's really quieted down here. But again, you track back, and we've referenced it twice already. Shantz comes out and says, you know, nobody's safe. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity. Nobody's stepping up and taking advantage of that opportunity. Devin Vega, a guy who's still young and trying to gain experience, develop his professional career. He's been sitting in the middle of the park in the 10 roll. He's not ball hunting whatsoever.
Forbes bobbled, but Derek holds on. I think back to last year, and there are very few teams that feel like they have the depth of a Phoenix Rising. FC Cincinnati thought they were that team, and things were a little different. It was a team largely constructed by John Harkes, but coached by Alan Koch. There's a game in May against Rochester where a lot of guys played their last competitive match in the USL that year. Maybe got a cup of coffee late. Opportunities like this don't always come along. Asante from Saad, and intercepted. You let this one opportunity leak away from you, and you may not see a lot more of the field.
As a professional, you're spot on, Mike, and you can be the best player on the training ground, but if it doesn't translate to a performance on the field, it means nothing. I had to deal with that in my career earlier on. Was my manager would say to me, you know, son, you come in and no one can compete with you when it comes into fitness sessions and technical skills.
Forbes bounces down, shot is on, up and over. There's an appeal for handball, nothing there from Vega.
But when I would step onto the field, I was lacking. I wasn't poor. I still had the ability to be in the starting 11, but it wasn't what I was showing in training. And you know, I had to deal with it from a contractual standpoint. It really set me behind. And it took me a couple humbling experiences of, hey, you're not gonna take your shot, that's fine. There's plenty of people behind you who'll step up and get it done.
I just can't tell if that was positive or negative. At first I'm thinking, you know, Devin, get your hand off your back, you're patting yourself too much. And by the time the story ended, it was actually kind of sad.
Well, it just goes back to the likes of Devin Vega, Kevon Frater, and it doesn't matter who's hurt, what rotation it is. When you get the opportunity to shine, you better step up and put it forth.
Abdul Salam. There's Waldrop, a guy who's performed well when he's gotten on the field. That's a really nice switch of play. Musa crossing, headed towards Abdul Salam, and touched out by Enriquez. It will be a corner. Enriquez, for instance, for RGV, a guy who's a gamer, but also shows well in practice and does some wow moments. Guy like Perea comes in, doesn't perform well in training, doesn't have a great preseason, gets one opportunity, hasn't left the starting lineup since. Asante lofted into the air. Derek is fouled. And Jerson Acheverry feels like there should be more here for Frater. He felt undercut his goalkeeper.
He's unhappy because he feels Frater. It's a little violent here right at the top of the 6. They like to protect their goalkeepers, and understandably so. Tyler Derrick coming out trying to get both hands on the ball, just collect it and let his squad kind of reset. It's been quiet from both of these teams overall. Jordan Jones and Carlos Small with their opportunity.
You and I had an interesting chat. Former Manchester United goalkeeper Gary Bailey, who does USL games, and about if something's a foul in the middle of the field, is it against a goalkeeper? A lot of people feel they're overprotected. Sometimes he feels they're underprotected. It's an interesting experience hearing it. Me as a complete non-athlete, you as a center back, and he is a Premier League goalkeeper.
I said to him, the first thing was, I was always there to protect my goalkeeper. And you do feel that a referee will tailor, we'll say, his responses and calls when it comes to being inside of the box, especially around the 6, in favor of a goalkeeper. But, tracking back to the situation with Zach Lubin last game, I came out on air and I said, didn't think it was a red card. No ifs, ands, or buts. No way, shape, or form. Having the conversation with Rick Shantz, he said, it was, but he felt it was more so along the lines of the game getting away from the referee and the referee having to make a statement. And that's not a good thing that you want to have happen. You want the ref to have control overall.
Small for Chuy Enriquez, who is offside. I think in large in part, John Freeman has done a pretty good job of keeping this game in check. Voting does run through this weekend, the USL's monthly awards. You can have your say. Votes for Player of the Month, Goal of the Month, Save of the Month at USLsoccer.com. We had some awesome goals. The game of the week last week, San Antonio getting, was it number 2 on SportsCenter Top 10? It's Forbes. Curling that across. Asante, poor clearance. Asante makes no mistake at all. An absolute rocket from close quarters, and the Rising have their goal. It's his 13th of the year.
We questioned if his health was any concern, as he hasn't necessarily been streaky in this match. He's been dormant. But you give him one window of opportunity and he will make you pay. Billy Forbes doing what Billy Forbes does, gets into a one-on-one situation, gets to the end line. First ball comes across to Frater, who gets a tiny touch, tries to put the deflection on frame. Solomon Asante is gifted a ball to the back post, and the Ghanaian puts his squad ahead in the 61st minute. How sweet it is for Solomon Asante. And watch out, this could be exactly the spark that Phoenix Rising is looking for. We've seen it from them so many times, most recently versus Colorado Springs, quiet until the 68th minute. If you didn't read that story, that ended 4-0. Phoenix gets their first. Could it be more to come?
And the curtain closes on Asante for the night. Joshua Perez has come on. And Frater has come off, replaced by Chris Cortez. Well, one is an unknown commodity, the other an extraordinarily well-known commodity. Cortez has been remarkable this year. Perez, I don't think anyone knows what we're going to get from the former U.S. Youth International.
Extremely young and still honing his game, but it gives you an idea of where Chance's head was at, because those were already set up before the goal went in. Not happy with his striker, Frater. Questionable performance, to say the least. And then Solomon Asante, you do have to wonder, regardless of the great finish, if he is healthy.
Perez entering the box, ball across, claimed by Derek. Yeah, it was a hamstring a couple games ago, and look, Solomon Asante very simply needs to be ready a month from now. Whether or not he piles up statistics in the interim really isn't decisive in Phoenix's season. Enriquez made it interesting for Wazinski, nothing more. Perez, an incredible lineage. And his dad and his grandfather playing for maybe the biggest team in all of El Salvador, Club Deportivo FAS. He spent time over in Italy, and Bob Bradley reeling him into LAFC's web. Another in a long line of good creative attacking options. Think about bringing in Mark Anthony Kaye from USL. They know what they can get out of this. Chested by Cortez. I think that's one of the interesting little byproducts of Rick Schantz running FC Tucson for so long and running a lot of MLS preseason stuff. He knew that staff from LAFC before they were ever assembled. And they got the opportunity to bring in Tristan Blackman, Joshua Perez. Said, yeah, we'll take anybody you got. And they've provided well on the night.
Well, it's interesting because RGV references their relationship with Houston Dynamo as a hybrid. And that's kind of what you're getting here, not necessarily as direct. Phoenix Rising and LAFC, but obviously they've taken a keen liking to each other. And you have to give credit to Phoenix Rising in that situation, because Bob Bradley sending these youngsters over to gain experience and help bolster the squad for Phoenix Rising, while also trusting the development of the staff of Rick Schantz at Phoenix Rising to be able to push these guys in the right direction. We went deeper into that, and he said, you know, we don't just provide them updates. And I'm chatting with assistant coach Razov once, twice, 3 times a week. They're getting daily updates to the fitness staff to track their metrics, exactly what sort of workload they're putting in. It just gives you an idea of the trust between the two squads and the players that they share.
Gill hit from behind by Waldrip. Kept it, plays it wide for RGV. Long service, chested up. Off the knee of Jones. Vega playing Perez. Native of Los Angeles. Vega crossing. Cortez, 13 goals. So a couple tied with the Baker's dozen right now for Phoenix. Top their scoring charts. Everybody's chasing Cameron Lancaster of Louisville City right now for the Golden Boot in the USL. Ball for Small. Glancing header. It's away from Enriquez. Dia, who's settled into the game. Forbes. Chewy Enriquez, Small. Jones closing in. Small trying to step by. Enriquez cutting it across. And a change on the way.
It's there for the taking for RGV. Jordan Jones, once again, getting the look at the start of the game, but he's really never found combinating play with Carlos Small. Monday team steps in. He's going to get a go, and he's someone who's sort of a question mark as well. Track back to the chance just a second ago. Small again, doing the best that he can. Chewy Enriquez playing a ball across, and just Jordan Jones never really the same book that was put forth in front of him. Monday team, just a 19-year-old. And you wonder what could be with a Nigerian. Another guy who just possesses a boatload of space. The Montverde Academy, so successful with so many players. It's just still so young, needs to be molded.
Foul whistled against the Rising, and Wharton will step forward. RGV looks like they've lost a little bit of the wind in their sails right now.
Goal definitely took a bit out of them, but still opportunities to be had. The back line of Phoenix Rising, questionable over the course of the 70 minutes that we've seen them so far.
Wharton, Adams getting under it, and it's Wazinski. Who's closing in on 100 career starts in USL, the age of 30. Wharton comes in to intercept Monday A team. One sub left for each team in these final 20 minutes. As Carlos Small holding off his mark. Away from DeFont. Collected by Enriquez. Showing off the moves. Blasting this too far for Phoenix. Wakasa, Fernandez, Awako, and Farrell remain for the Toros. James, Morales, Ontiveros, and Hernandez, Remilio Hernandez, the former Phoenix Rising player who fell out of the plans early last year. Get an inside look, life on and off the field from a player's perspective. It's every Wednesday evening, the latest edition of From the Pitch from USLsoccer.com. Forbes had a creative idea. Donovan snuffs it out.
Coming down the stretch, you wonder if Rick Shantz, not necessarily if he's going to his bench, but who it's going to be. Devin Vega has been very quiet in the middle of the field, but you do have the option of bringing in Colin Fernandez, Gladson Wako. Colin Fernandez actually someone, Rick Shantz telling us, that performed quite well in the inter-squad challenge they had over the past weekend on their off time, letting all the fans get involved.
Perez held on a bit too long. Wharton came in. Played long for Small by Gill. This crowd is really getting behind the defensive work rate of Phoenix Rising. Good run from Perez. Perez wants one for himself. Well, he can endear himself to a lot of locals with a goal like that, but he sails it high and wide.
As soon as he stepped on the pitch, we mentioned you're not really sure what you're getting with Josh Perez. Well, if this even touches the surface, I'll take it. Good touch inside, brings it back onto his left and just unleashes from about 23 yards out. Almost had that upper 90 picked. Tyler Derrick would have been left wondering, why am I on this highlight reel?
Well, as this game potentially opens up down the stretch, Phoenix is a team that can push the accelerator down better than anybody in the USL, which means fasten your seatbelts in layman's terms. The dynamic attacking threat that is Evan Waldrop. Knocking it across the field for Forbes. Forbes puts the shot on and missed it wide right.
Great ball in by Evan Waldrop. Billy Forbes had shifted over to the right as Josh Perez tucked inside. We've seen him trying to employ his efforts in the interior. Billy Forbes puts it on that big left foot of his. Almost has the near post. Beaten against Tyler Derrick.
Did I say dynamic attacking? I meant dynamic passing threat.
It's close enough.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other for number 6. We're having fun. Hope you are too. USL game of the week. The season is fast approaching the end. Phoenix finishing their final of 3 at home in a row. They go away to San Antonio. That's a great road trip. They're at Seattle, at Colorado Springs before they take on St. Louis on the 29th of September. That's leading into the penultimate week of the regular season. RGV takes on Salt Lake City next. The Monarchs will pay a visit on Saturday, September the 8th. And Phoenix fans will be scoreboard watching that, where they go away to Colorado Springs and then host S2 on Saturday, 22nd. Ball lined across. Boy, Adams didn't get that, and that was nearly another failed clearance, leading to a good opportunity for Phoenix. It gets by Cortez too.
Excellent build-up from Phoenix Rising. Amadou Dia doing very diligent work on the left side, on the defensive side of the ball. Cortez trying to get on the end of it. This is a situation for Phoenix Rising, though, where Rick Schantz telling us most recently that it is so extremely important for them to get this home field advantage. They need at least 1. Obviously 2 would be even better, but they do have a tendency to let teams hang around. And as much as they've started to open things up for themselves and really kind of take over this second half, getting the 1-goal lead, maintaining a lot of possession, RGV does still possess that quick strike capability. We've seen it a few times. Orange County's been able to do it. Sebastian Velasquez and Real Monarchs. These are just 1-0 games where they've let teams hang around. It's not what you want to do.
Advantage played on the A-team. Couldn't sneak that through. For some, that's an Achilles heel. Too soon to tell if that'll be the case for Phoenix. Well, compelling stuff on ESPN3 tonight. Very busy weekend on ESPN Plus. Every USL game streaming on ESPN's online platform. Forbes trotting in. It's Cortez. Cortez spins and got the shot away, aimed right at Derek. Well, to your point earlier, Devin, if you're going to be direct, you better be on point against Phoenix.
It's definitely been lacking. You saw them starting to find form, RGV, at the end of the first half. Last 5-7 minutes turned into a track meet for both squads. Not necessarily the case here in the second half. See frustration boiling over for Carlos Small, as he didn't really like the lack of support by Gill in the middle of the field, stepping in when they are trying to employ the press. Haven't done it a lot. Much better in the first half from an execution standpoint, but Gerson Echeverry not going to be overly enthralled with his squad's performance here in the second half.
Is there an opening here? Derek has come out and claimed it before Perez. That's a foul. Tristan Blackman there. RGV ready to use their third and final change. Not sure that Remilio Hernandez played in Phoenix long enough to have a reputation. We shall see.
Just a few apps for the man from Maryland, but he's bounced around, drafted by Portland, didn't sign with them, goes to Phoenix, and then just started to kind of train here and there, a couple trials, nothing ever coming to fruition. It was interesting asking Gerson Echeverry how the discovery process came about.
Adams tried to put that up, and it does get cleared in the end, and there is a player down. Has John Freeman waving the athletic training staff on. Donovan is on the ground, and Wazinski comes over to check on him.
Yep. He said, Coach, you know, we're familiar with Remilio and what he's done at the collegiate level and trying to find his path at the professional level. How did you decide to bring him into your camp? And he said, you know, you got to give credit to our backup goalkeeper, Matt Sanchez. They're childhood friends. And he said, you know, Remilio was searching, decided to give him a look. He came in, he's been training with us for quite some time. Why not? Let's give him a go.
And Devin, you immediately ask whether or not he got the agent's cut.
Where's the finder's fee?
Yeah. DeFont is still down. So DeFont striding away from this. Connor Donovan was down as well a moment ago. DeFont will be sent for further medical evaluation.
Two guys just colliding on the 50-50 in the box, and both of them becoming quite rattled. Escorted to the sideline now. Will eventually be waved on by the fourth official.
Hey, Devin, I want to run this by you. What do you think of these? Are those gold cleats? Am I seeing this wrong? I'm a giant fan of these. These are Connor Donovan's, by the way.
Yeah, I see orange with magenta.
Is that what
red.
It is up front?
Yeah, gold on top, orange on the back. Yeah, gold up top, orange on the back.
Thoughts on those?
I like traditional all black or all white.
Your loss.
Yeah.
I saw those while he was down, and I know there's an injury to focus on, but I mean, I want a pair of those. Like, I don't know what I would do with them, but I want a pair. I digress.
We could try and have you reenact the Jason Johnson goal.
Oh, funny joke. It's a good one. Forbes overcooked this for Cortez. Well, the game of keep away has commenced. How well do you know the USL? Test your knowledge. USLsoccer.com's weekly picks competition. It's every week. Win tickets to an upcoming USL game of your choice, as you could join myself and Nick Murray in throwing darts, trying to figure out win, loss, or draw on every game of the USL slate. We're all hanging in like the 40s. There's 3 options, so I think that's actually pretty good. Sullivan kicks this away from Forbes. Abdul Salam to throw. What an incredible addition he's been to Phoenix.
Definitely the man of the match tonight. For me, anyway. There's been almost nothing to be had on the right side of the pitch.
Goes to ground here with Carlos Small and Hernandez behind him.
Two big bodies challenging each other. Small first and Remilio just shortly after. He got stepped on as well. But one thing we haven't addressed for Phoenix Rising is you're going to have matches like this where maybe the magic isn't necessarily there. You can't execute on a regular basis, but you're able to go out and get a goal. Now it comes down to game management. Take a look at the clock. Make sure you've got the ball at your feet. Start to play keep away with RGV. Let them lay chase. Let the ball do the work and really close this game out.
Sullivan, it's his gaff. That is, for now, sealed RGV's fate on the night. 61st minute goal from Solomon Asante, the difference maker. Waldrop, back pass dangerous, and Carlos Small goes wheeling over to Font. And a change here for Phoenix. 6th and final total sub, and Colin Fernandez returns. We spent more than half of this year waiting for Fernandez to come of full health. It felt like they may have pushed him a little too hard in his first comeback. He returns again here, and Evan Waldrop checks out.
You could almost assuredly pen him into that holding midfielder spot earlier on this year, but after gaining that injury, Mike just referenced, they did agree that they brought him back a bit early, and now it's been very difficult to get him into match fitness. But as I referenced earlier, another player that really showed well over the past weekend in that inter-squad matchup where all the fans got to come out, interact with Phoenix Rising. Very one-on-one level.
Perez Cortez. Vega. Carl Fernandez gives you the versatility of having been an attacking midfielder in Chicago, then going to Tulsa, transitioning to the holding mid under David Vaudreuil. They stunned the league last year, then plummeted to the bottom this year. And all of a sudden, that's become maybe the most complicated position on the field for Phoenix. Kevon Lambert, very young, but with the Jamaican national team right now. Waldrop is impressed, coming off the bench, making his second start of the year tonight. And Fernandez, who once, as you mentioned, maybe had his spot marked in ink, is now at best in pencil.
Gladson Owako has some midseason injuries as well, and he's just coming back from suspension. Had a great match last timeout versus Colorado Springs, a goal and 2 assists, but someone they need to make sure can sit in the middle of the field. Devin Vega, we've referenced him before. Did well versus old squad, San Antonio FC, but again, up and down.
Small, Perea, Small gets through, save Wazinski. Total mental lapse. And RGV winding it up again. I mean, really, Phoenix sleepwalking, and Small almost made them pay. They're going to spend 30 seconds on the rest of the film and 10 minutes on that tomorrow. Cross played through. Danger still on. A-team goes down. No whistle. Steered into the channel. Adams knocks it ahead. Should have 4 minutes of added time. Perez is able to hit Forbes. Bounces into Small. This game stretched as far as it can go. Small trying to cut back.
Good defending by Saad. You can see him limping as well. Not sure if he picked up a knock or it's cramping, but having trouble keeping up with the pacey Carlos Small.
A couple moments ago, you saw the referee suggest you need to come off. He's stretching out that left leg. I think you're right. Service is cleared as far as Perez. Nearing 400 minutes of shutout soccer right now. Phoenix looking for their 4th straight win by way of shutout. 11 goals in that span from 7 different goal scorers. Ball for Cortez! Well, that was the final nail in the coffin for Phoenix. Could have carried 3 points right off the field with him.
We've seen it so many times from Chris Cortez. You felt the nail in the coffin for RGV. Ends up not being the case. Still 2 minutes left. Phoenix falling asleep at times here in the second half, allowing RGV to stay in this game. And you've seen it, Carlos Small becoming very active at the top, really trying to put this squad on his back. Again with the throw-ins.
They could use Liverpool's guy.
Oh, my goodness.
Header back, Adams. Play this with his feet. Derek, followed by Cortez. 3 points and a tie for first place, just a minute away. Vega sizing things up. Perez. Away from Forbes.
And there's no reason to step in there and give that ball away. Maintain it. You've got 45 seconds or so on the clock. You don't want to give RGV an opportunity to equalize here and steal 3 points away from you. That's just the youngster letting his inexperience get the best of him.
Sante in the 61st. Is it enough to hold up here for Phoenix? Cortez laying off. Phoenix can salt this thing away. Fernandez. For Phoenix, it's level atop the Western Conference. 53 points. And Rick Schatz's side, 4 consecutive shutouts. And they've taken 12 straight points as they continue to ride up the Western Conference table.
A quiet night offensively for Phoenix Rising. Solomon Asante changed that in the 61st minute. Magic lacking over the course of the entire evening, but they found a way to win. They dug down deep, and the Wizard of Oz coming up late, keeping that 0.
Lozinski, another shutout. Asante, another sterling mark on his MVP resume. Highlights and stats after this. Smiling and waving a moment ago. It's a little more solemn now for Solomon Asante. Finishes 1-0, and the MVP candidate scores his 13th of the season. And the rising captain sees it through, finishes 1-0, the USL Game of the Week. Back with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, full-time highlights. As RGV trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Phoenix with a win, he tied for first. And we scoot forward into the latter stages of the first half. Enriquez goes down What do you think of the two calls here? Forbes the other way.
The first one on Enriquez, you actually see the trailing foot come in. Referee should have pointed to the spot. The second one on Billy Forbes, he gets caught up under his own two left feet. No foul there. Carlos Small was really the bright light for RGV Toros all night long. Jordan Jones should have finished here. And how about Blackman? The loney, Johnny on the spot, right on the end line, keeps him out of the back of the net and keeps the 0.
Couple firm swats from Waz because, well, he just kept that shutout alive. And look at how fast Phoenix gets from one end to the field to the other. Dia leading him forward, Forbes riding up the sideline, knocking it across. And, well, this is a Phoenix side that took advantage of a really poor mistake.
We expressed earlier that the explosiveness that Phoenix Rising carries in their capability is unparalleled when they are at their best, and this is it right here. Billy Forbes just gets in, tiny touch to the back post, cannot do that. Gives it over to Solomon Asante. 1, done, 1-0. That was his swan song. They bring him out almost immediately. You have to wonder as to whether or not how healthy he was. We'll find that out later on. But I did like the movement you saw from Josh Perez coming in. Not really sure what you're going to get out of the loney. Steps up, has a crack from about 25 yards out. Tries to get in behind Tyler Derrick, but not bad stuff from the youngster.
Another recent loney to Phoenix Rising. Blasts this high and wide as it's still 1-0. And in the latter stage of this game, a couple moments where Phoenix fell asleep and was bailing them out.
It's really confusing as to exactly what was going on because they were maintaining so much possession. They were really making RGV chase, but just absolutely went to bed on this one. That's a terrible backline mistake by Phoenix Rising, but it was the good stuff from Wazinski, who was able to keep him out of the back of the net. Chris Cortez trying to get back involved in this golden boot race. Great touch to the front post, just couldn't finish it off.
And the coaches meet at midfield post-game as Wazinski's got another shutout. It's 4 straight shutouts, just under 400 consecutive minutes without conceding. Well, this is what it looks like now. Monarchs and Rising. The question is just, well, the win column, but you said it earlier. Leave the tiebreakers for another 5 weeks down the road.
Just go out and get your job done. You know, they've had a rough schedule, but they found their way to get their form back. Again, they had a couple of games where they really got pushed off their rocker, but they found their way back, and now you have an opportunity to go to San Antonio, S2, Colorado Springs. Now that's a difficult road trip, but it's a very manageable one against teams that you should get results against.
And St. Louis and Real Monarchs have all kinds of playoff implications coming up in the next USL game of the week. So Phoenix next on the road, 3-game road swing. They'll take on San Antonio FC, the current number 8 side. Well, RGV will take on Real Monarchs on Saturday at HEB Park. For Sharni Yurke, our statistician, producer Aponte Abrahamovich, director Gage Tellicher, and Jonathan Tillotson, and Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watt saying thanks for watching. Phoenix, a 1-0 winner. Asante, another golden goal. And Wazinski, the shutout, finishes 1-0. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.